Chapter 249. Who else from your Decimo Sword Sect wants to fight? Lu Ming looked at the omnidirectional sword sects area. However, the disciples of the Shifang sword sect were silent. What a joke! Even Qiu Ming had been defeated. Among them, there were still a few experts of the 8th martial master realm, but none of them were as strong as Qiu Ming. Damn it! Wait until the geniuses on the 10 Directions Sword Faction's silver ranking arrive. Let's see how you'll die. The disciples of the Decimo Sword Faction all had gloomy expressions as they roared in their hearts. Lu Ming sneered. His gaze swept across the crowd, but still, no one stepped forward to fight. Tianyun, since that's the case, Di Tian Martial Arena, will send someone to fight. The referee said. Lu Ming nodded. After a while, a young man with a murderous aura stepped onto the stage. However, this person was not as strong as Qiu Ming and was defeated by Lu Ming in just a few moves. 4 consecutive victories. Following this, the Di Tian Martial Arena sent another person up, but he was still defeated by Lu Ming. 5 consecutive victories had broken the record of the 5 heroes of the Burning Sun tribe. However, Lu Ming's victory didn't stop there. After that, the Di Sky Martial Arena sent out more and more people to fight. These people were all experts among the death fighters, each stronger than the last. Sadly, all of them were defeated by Lu Ming. 6 consecutive victories. 7 consecutive victories. He tied with Qiu Changkong's record, but not long after, Lu Ming won again. 8 consecutive victories. The crowd was in an uproar. Qiu Changkong's record was finally broken. Heavens, Tianyun is going to defy the heavens. Could it be that his talent is stronger than Qiu Changkong's? That might not be the case. Although Qiu Changkong was strong when he was a martial Grand Master, he was not much stronger than the other 5 heroes. When Qiu Changkong broke through to the martial ancestor realm, he underwent extreme nirvana and awakened a terrifying second bloodline. That was how he managed to leave the other 5 heroes in the dust and firmly sit on the throne of the 6 heroes of the Blazing Sun Empire. That's right. Although Tianyun is strong now, it's hard to say when he reaches the martial ancestor realm. That's true, but it's still very scary. Moreover, what's Tianyun's limit? How many consecutive victories can he achieve in the end? Everyone guessed in shock that Tianyun wouldn't be able to skip 2 levels and obtain 10 consecutive victories, right? As it turned out, their speculations were coming true. For the 9th match, Di Tian Martial Arena sent out a powerful expert who was even stronger than Qiu Ming. However, he was still not a match for Lu Ming. 9 consecutive victories. This caused the elders in the upper echelons of the Di Tian Martial Arena to be stunned. This little fellow's strength is not bad. In the future, he might even be able to join the Di Tian Divine Guards. We have to pay close attention to it. When the time comes, the credit for the recommendation won't be small. It is still too early for him to join the Di Tian Divine Guards. We will have to see how his second martial ancestor bloodline awakens. What we need to do now is to stop his winning streak. Otherwise, us old fellows will suffer a loss. A few old men were discussing among themselves, looking rather distressed. Let number 10 go up. He is the only person who obtained the top 10 numbers with the cultivation of an 8th level martial master. If even he is defeated, there is nothing we can do. Let's do it. Soon, the order was given, and a bare-chested young man in his 20s stepped onto the platform. There was a number 10 tattooed on his face. Number 10? Why is it number 10? Some of the people who knew the inside story of the Di Tian Martial Arena cried out in surprise. The death fighters of the Di Tian Martial Arena, number 1 to number 10, were usually top-notch experts among the 9th level martial masters. But now, number 10 was a young man in the 8th level martial master realm. Many people understood that this number 10 must be extraordinary. It's an expert. This is more interesting. Lu Ming's eyes revealed a trace of battle intent. This number 10 did not emit a strong aura, but Lu Ming could faintly sense danger. Kill. Number 10 suddenly let out a loud roar, and a long spear appeared in his hand. In an instant, dozens of spear lights pierced through the air towards Lu Ming. He also uses a spear. Great. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Buzz. The long spear trembled, and it let out a buzzing sound. Similarly, spear lights shot out and engaged in a great battle with number 10. On the 200-meter-long platform, two figures of light crisscrossed, and spear lights shot out with a whistling sound. It was incomparably terrifying. At the same time, there were three forces on the platform that were constantly bombarding and resisting. This little guy called Tianyun is really shocking. At such a young age, he has already comprehended two forces, and both of them have already reached the small success stage. Especially the fire force, it's close to the large success stage. That's right. Number 10's mountain force is also close to the large success stage, similar to Tianyun's fire force. However, Tianyun's wind and fire combination is even stronger. If not for number 10's cultivation being so much stronger than Tianyun's, I'm afraid he would have already lost. In my opinion, it's only a matter of time before he loses. In the upper echelons of the martial arena, a few elders were watching and discussing. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming and number 10 had exchanged more than 100 moves. Awesome, awesome. Lu Ming's eyes were incomparably bright. The more he fought, the braver he became. On the demon-suppressing spear, the wind and fire force converged, forming a shocking destructive power. In this battle, Lu Ming used all his strength except for his earth-rank martial skill and bloodline. How powerful was Lu Ming now? The battle dragon technique was at the 4th level, and his body was at the peak of the 3rd stage. With the wind and fire force converging, an ordinary martial artist at the peak of the 9th level of the martial master realm would not be able to take more than a few moves from Lu Ming. From this, one could see how powerful number 10 was. The audience of more than 300,000 held their breaths and stared at the platform, afraid that they would miss the most important scene. Boom! Boom! In the blink of an eye, another 100 moves had passed. Lu Ming became braver and gradually gained the upper hand. A shocking killing intent erupted from number 10's body. Like a wild beast, he was not afraid of death, but he was still suppressed by Lu Ming. Bang! After another 100 moves, number 10 was sent flying by Lu Ming's spear. He slid a few 100 meters and fell off the platform. Roar! Number 10 growled and wanted to rush to the platform regardless of his injuries. Enough! The referee shouted. Number 10's body trembled and he stopped, fear in his eyes. Tianyun wins this battle, the referee announced. Phew! The audience exhaled. They were too nervous just now and many people held their breaths until their faces turned red. Only now did they let out a long sigh. Then, there was a shocking uproar. More than 300,000 people were talking excitedly. 10 consecutive victories, 2 levels higher. That's terrifying. It hasn't happened in the Burning Sun Empire for at least 500 years. A miracle, a miracle. After today, Tianyun's name will be known all over the world. If Tianyun grows up, he will be as strong as the 6 heroes, or even stronger. I'm witnessing the birth of a miracle. In the crowd, Ming Cheng and his siblings were so agitated that they were trembling all over. On the other hand, the people from the 10 Directions sword sect were all pale and bloodless. Lu Ming, will you continue with the challenge? Then, this question came to everyone's mind. Fighting 3 levels higher. Moreover, it was not as simple as 3 levels higher. His opponent would not be an ordinary LV9 martial master. He would definitely be stronger than number 10. Would Tianyun continue? Countless people were looking forward to it. This little guy won't really continue, will he? Among the higher-ups, several elders said with a wry smile. If Lu Ming continued to fight, they would lose money. Tianyun, do you want to continue? The referee looked at Lu Ming with a trace of nervousness and speechlessness in his eyes. Chapter 250. Under everyone's gaze, Lu Ming shook his head. I'm not challenging anymore, Lu Ming said. Huh? Everyone was stunned. He's not challenging anymore? Why isn't Tianyun challenging anymore? He clearly won. If he were to challenge someone 3 levels above him, he would be able to get an additional 1 million spirit crystals. Yeah, why isn't he challenging anymore? I'm about to witness history. Countless people were disappointed. Only the judge and a few elders of the Di Tian fighting arena were overjoyed. The judge suppressed his joy and said, Tianyun, since that's the case, I'll announce that you've won 10 consecutive victories. Your reward is 1 million spirit crystals. Lu Ming nodded. He didn't challenge anymore because he knew that if he were to show off too much and earn too many spirit crystals from the Di Tian fighting arena, it would definitely make the Di Tian fighting arena unhappy. Also, if he continued to challenge, he would have to face stronger opponents. In that case, all his trump cards would be exposed. It wasn't wise to expose all his trump cards in front of his enemies. Therefore, he chose to end the challenge. 1 million spirit crystals was enough for now. However, the audience couldn't help but wonder if Lu Ming would win if he continued to challenge and how many consecutive victories he would get. Of course, there was no answer to this. Some people thought that Lu Ming had already used all his strength. If he continued to challenge, he would definitely lose. Therefore, he chose not to challenge anymore. Some people thought that Lu Ming still had some strength left. They didn't know why he chose not to challenge anymore. Everyone had different opinions. Lu Ming couldn't be bothered with them. He followed the judge and received his reward of 1 million spirit crystals. Lu Ming left in satisfaction. Of course, Myongcheng and his siblings were also there. Big brother Tianyun, you're too powerful. If I were half, no, 1/10 as powerful as you, I would laugh my head off even in my dreams. Ming Peak looked at Lu Ming with admiration. Lu Ming smiled and said, "Let's go. What do you want to buy? It's my treat today." Really? Ming Peak was overjoyed. Without the slightest hesitation, he dragged Pearl and Myongcheng towards the market square. When they arrived at the market, Ming Cheng and his siblings chose from all over the place and spent 5,000 to 6,000 spirit crystals. To Lu Ming, this was nothing. Lu Ming was now a millionaire. Then, he returned to the Star General Hall. At the entrance of Lu Ming's dormitory, he saw Hua Kai waiting there. "Hua Kai, were you waiting for me?" Lu Ming smiled as he walked over. "Lu Ming, you have exceeded my expectations time and time again. Today, you actually managed to achieve 10 consecutive victories, surpassing Chiu Changkung's record." Hua Kai smiled. Of course, Ming Peak ran to Myongcheng's place, so there was only Lu Ming here, so he didn't need to worry about what he said. "You found out so quickly?" Lu Ming was stunned. Almost all of the higher-ups in the imperial capital know about it now. Hua Kai smiled. Lu Ming was speechless. The speed of the news spreading was really terrifying. "Lu Ming, my father wants to see you," Hua Kai suddenly said. "Your father?" Lu Ming frowned slightly. Hua Kai's father, the current emperor of the Blazing Sun Empire, wants to see him? Yes, Lu Ming, I didn't hide your information from my father. You won't mind, right? Hua Kai looked at Lu Ming and said. "Why would I?" Lu Ming smiled. In fact, Lu Ming had already expected this. Since he agreed to help Hua Kai, it was normal for him to tell his father. Seeing that Lu Ming didn't mind, Hua Kai smiled and said, "Lu Ming, I have also told my father about your father. During this period of time, my father has sent a large number of people to investigate and there seems to be some progress." "What? There's news about my father?" Lu Ming was stunned for a moment before he was overjoyed. "Lu Ming, don't be happy too early. It seems to be just some progress." Hua Kai said. "Let's go and see your father." Lu Ming couldn't wait. Having some information was better than having no information at all. It was better than finding a needle in a haystack. Then, Lu Ming left the Star General Hall and sat on a beast carriage with Hua Kai, heading towards the Imperial Palace. After arriving at the Imperial Palace, Lu Ming followed Hua Kai to the Imperial Garden. When Lu Ming arrived at the Imperial Garden, he saw a middle-aged man with a burly figure, wearing a golden dragon robe, sitting in a pavilion and drinking tea. He was just sitting there casually, but there was an intimidating aura around him. This was the aura of an emperor. Without a doubt, this was the current emperor of the Blazing Sun Empire, Hua Zhongxing. "Son greets father." Arriving at the pavilion, Hua Kai bowed. "This commoner Lu Ming greets your majesty." Lu Ming also cupped his fists in greeting. "Haha, nephew Lu Ming, there's no need to be so courteous. Come, have a drink with this emperor." Hua Zhongxing was very forthright as he laughed heartily. Lu Ming and Hua Kai entered the pavilion and took a seat. Beside them, the Emperor's trusted aide poured tea for Lu Ming and Hua Kai. I've long heard that nephew Lu Ming is a dragon among men, unparalleled in the world. Seeing you today, it's true. Hua Zhengxing smiled. Your Majesty is too kind. Lu Ming said modestly. Hua Zhengxing took a sip of tea and said, Lu Ming, in this period of time, you've created many miracles, but at the same time, you've also offended the 10 Directions Sword Sect. From now on, you must be careful. However, since you've already joined the Star General Hall and are old Eight's close friend, this Emperor can promise you one thing. As long as it's a competition between peers, no matter what happens, this Emperor and the Imperial family will definitely stand on your side. Lu Ming's heart moved. Hua Zhengxing's words implied that as long as it was a competition between peers, he could do whatever he wanted. The Imperial family would definitely stand firmly behind him and protect him. Many thanks, Your Majesty. Lu Ming cupped his fists. Although the Imperial family had declined, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. With the Emperor's promise, Lu Ming did not need to be afraid when encountering disciples of the 10 Directions Sword Sect in the future. He could directly kill them. If the older generation of the 10 Directions Sword Sect made a move, the Imperial family would definitely step in. This way, Lu Ming had fewer worries. There's more. Hua Zhengxing's hand moved, and a storage ring appeared in his hand. He said, here are the blood refinement pills. There are a total of 4,000 pills. Lu Ming's heart moved. It seemed that the blood and egg last time had been refined into blood refinement pills. Lu Ming did not stand on ceremony and accepted it. This was what he deserved. Your Majesty, I heard that you know the whereabouts of my father. At this time, Lu Ming asked. He wanted to ask as soon as he arrived, but he had been holding it in. Now, he finally could not hold it in anymore. Hua Zhengxing pondered for a moment and said, during this period, I've been sending people to investigate. The investigation started 8 or 9 years ago, and finally found some clues. It's very likely that your father was imprisoned by the 10 Directions Sword Sect for some reason. This is certain. Moreover, it's very likely that your father isn't dead. However, we haven't found out where exactly he is imprisoned yet. Father is really not dead. Lu Ming's heart trembled. Thereafter, he was filled with endless rage. His father was actually imprisoned by the 10 Directions Sword Sect. Damn it, the 10 Directions Sword Sect deserves to die. Chapter 251. Lu Ming, don't worry, I will do my best. It won't be long before I find your father's whereabout. Hua Zhengxing said with a serious face. Lu Ming thanks Your Majesty first. Lu Ming cupped his fists and bowed. This time, he was sincere. Although he knew that the reason why Hua Zhengxing was helping him was nothing more than because he had taken a fancy to his talent and wanted to rope him in, it didn't matter as long as it was beneficial to both sides. Hua Zhengxing smiled, looking quite satisfied. He then took out a gilded invitation card and said, Lu Ming, 3 months later, it will be my 60th birthday. This is the invitation card. You must attend it 3 months later. Lu Ming's heart moved and he didn't refuse. He took the invitation and said, don't worry, Your Majesty. Lu Ming will definitely be there. Haha, Lu Ming, there aren't many people who can make my father personally send an invitation. Only the 5 major sects and the ministers in the imperial capital. Hua Kai smiled. Lu Ming, you should cultivate well during this period. When the 5 major sects gather in the imperial capital, the geniuses on the silver ranking and even the gold rank disciples will come. I'm afraid that the disciples on the silver ranking of the Shifang Sword Sect will find trouble with you. You must be careful. Hua Zhengxing warned seriously. Lu Ming thanked him again. After chatting for a while, Lu Ming and Hua Kai got up and left. In the general hall, Lu Ming sat on the bed. Father, how have you been all these years? Why did the Shifang Sword Sect imprison you? Is it because of the bronze pendant? Father, I'm useless. I can't save you now. Lu Ming clasped his hands together tightly. Strength, he was still too weak. If he was strong enough, he could kill his way to the Shifang Sword Sect and force them to release him. But now, he was still too far away. He urgently needed to improve his strength. Martial Ancestor Realm. I must reach the Martial Ancestor Realm as soon as possible. Only Martial Ancestor Realm experts in the Burning Sun Empire can be counted as real experts. Only Martial Ancestor Realm experts have the right to speak and can fly. It will be of great help to me. After the consecutive battles in the Di Tian Martial Arena, I feel that my bottleneck has loosened. Tomorrow, I will go and buy a batch of demonic cores and focus on raising my cultivation. Then, Lu Ming appeared on the third platform of the Temple of Paragon. He put in the spiritual crystals and started to fight with himself. The next day, Lu Ming went out early and walked towards the market square. It was still the treasure pavilion. "Young master, you're here. Please come in." The eyes of the girl who received Lu Ming last time lit up when she saw Lu Ming. She brought Lu Ming to a VIP room. "Ha ha ha, young master, long time no see." Soon, the shopkeeper walked in. "Sir, what would you like to buy this time?" "Shopkeeper, give me 100 Class 9 Class 3 monster cores." Lu Ming said. 100. The shopkeeper was shocked. "That's right. Is there a problem?" Lu Ming frowned slightly. Did the treasure pavilion not have enough stock? "No, no problem." The shopkeeper quickly shook his head. He was just shocked and did not understand why Lu Ming wanted to buy so many monster cores. "Also, give me 20 portions of Class 9 Class 3 monster blood essence." Lu Ming continued. Okay. Please wait for a moment, young master. It will be here soon." The shopkeeper nodded his head repeatedly. His face was full of smiles as he walked out. Soon, the shopkeeper came back with 100 monster cores and 20 portions of monster blood essence. "Young master, the original price of these monster cores and blood essence is 1 million spiritual crystals, but you have a VIP card, so you can get a 20% discount. So, it will be 800,000 spiritual crystals." The shopkeeper said with a smile. Lu Ming nodded. It was good to have a VIP card. This way, he could save 200,000 spiritual crystals. Lu Ming paid the spiritual crystals and kept the monster cores and blood essence. He left the treasure pavilion under the admiring gazes of the shopkeeper and the admiring gazes of the beautiful shop assistants. After returning to the Star General Hall, Lu Ming went straight to the Earth Essence Cave. It was best to cultivate in the Earth Essence Cave. Lu Ming went to the 6th level of the Earth Essence Cave and sat down cross-legged in a secret room. With a flash of blood, the spirit-devouring bloodline appeared. A giant python more than 10 meters long with distinct scales floated above Lu Ming's head. Lu Ming took out a monster core. The giant python opened its mouth and sucked the monster core into its mouth. At the same time, there was a huge amount of fire attribute spiritual chi. Now that the spirit-devouring bloodline had reached level 7, its speed of devouring spiritual chi was terrifying. It was even faster than a level 9 bloodline. The huge amount of fire attribute spiritual chi and the energy of the monster core could not be refined by the bloodline and poured into Lu Ming's body. The bottleneck of peak level 6 martial master finally began to loosen and there were signs of a breakthrough. "I'll add 2 more. With a move of his hand, he took out 2 more monster cores and let the giant python swallow them. Boom! Surging energy poured into Lu Ming's body and finally turned into a loud explosion. 7th level Martial Master, breakthrough. After breaking through to level 7 Martial Master, Lu Ming's bloodline became even more terrifying. It continued to absorb the spiritual chi of the outside world. The spiritual chi of the outside world formed a funnel and was constantly devoured by the spirit-devouring bloodline. At the same time, Lu Ming took out another monster core and continued to devour it. The true chi in Lu Ming's body surged crazily. A few hours later, the phenomenon disappeared. 7th level Martial Master, my true chi is twice as dense as a 6th level Martial Master. However, it's still not enough. I have to continue to break through. After that, Lu Ming continued to devour the monster cores and cultivate. Every day, he spent half of his time cultivating the true battle dragon art and devouring monster cores to increase his cultivation. The rest of the time was used to comprehend the power of fire and figure out martial skills. Time flew by and a month passed in the blink of an eye. 100 monster cores had been completely devoured by Lu Ming. Lu Ming's cultivation had risen to the peak of level 7 martial master. Yes, 100 level 3 monster elixirs could only raise Lu Ming's cultivation to the peak of 7th level martial master. After reaching level 7 martial master, the effect of the class 9 monster cores would be much weaker. He had also devoured all 20 class 9 monster blood essences and used them to increase his bloodline rank. However, his bloodline was still at level 7 and did not break through. Lu Ming estimated that unless it was a martial ancestor realm blood essence, it would take a long time for his bloodline rank to increase. Martial ancestor blood essence. At the thought of this, Lu Ming could not help but smile bitterly. Martial ancestor blood essence was level 4 monster blood essence. Lu Ming had a headache just thinking about the price. The fire element spiritual chi in the 6th floor of the earth element cavern is still too weak. Let's go to the 7th floor. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. It was said that only martial ancestor realm experts could go to the 7th floor of the earth origin cave. Because the fire attribute spiritual chi was too dense and violent, it was very dangerous for martial grandmasters to go down. However, Lu Ming had the spirit-devouring bloodline and was not afraid. He planned to use the dense spiritual chi of heaven and earth to help him break through and comprehend the power of fire. He felt that the power of fire was very close to reaching the greater success stage. He walked out of the secret room and headed to the 7th floor. As soon as he reached the 7th floor, Lu Ming felt as if he had arrived at the mouth of a volcano. The terrifying and violent fire attribute spiritual chi constantly attacked Lu Ming. Good, this kind of environment is what I need. Chapter 252. A few hours later, Lu Ming stopped cultivating and began to comprehend the force of fire. Time flew by, and another month and a half passed. On this day, the stone door of the secret chamber opened, and Lu Ming walked out. Lu Ming had a smile on his face. It was obvious that he had gained a lot during this time. There was only half a month left until the emperor's birthday. Lu Ming planned to ask about his father's situation. He walked out of the Hall of General and walked toward the palace. Suddenly, the people on the street looked up at the sky and discussed. Who is that? How dare you fly so brazenly in the sky above the imperial city? Someone shouted. Ordinary martial ancestor realm experts were forbidden from flying above the imperial city. Only the overlords were not restricted by this rule. But now, someone dared to do so. Lu Ming also looked up. In the sky, there was a young figure in his 20s. He wore a red robe and had a tall stature. He was currently walking through the air towards the depths of the imperial capital. It's Ling Yankai, one of the 6 heroes. Someone exclaimed. What? It's Ling Yankai? Many people were shocked. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. It was Ling Yankai, one of the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun Empire and the strongest of the younger generation in the Crimson Cloud Valley. This was the first time Lu Ming saw the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun Empire. Brother Ling, wait. Right at this moment, a soft shout came from behind. Then, a young man in a white robe with a handsome face stepped through the air and arrived. It's Feng Wuji, the Mystic Essence Sword Sect's Feng Wuji. Another 6 heroes. Someone shouted. His Feng Wuji. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. In the Mystic Essence Sword Sect, Lu Ming had heard Feng Wuji's name countless times. Feng Wuji was the pride of the Mystic Essence Sword Sect's younger generation. Without a doubt, he was the strongest in the sect. Although Duan Mulin was known as a peerless talent, he was still too young to compete with Feng Wuji. Lu Ming had been in the Mystic Essence Sword Sect for more than a year, but this was the first time he had seen him in person. Brother Feng, you came so quickly. Let's go together. Ling Yankai smiled, and when Feng Wuji arrived, the two of them walked side by side and disappeared into the sky. Oh my god, 2 of the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun tribe are here today. This is so rare. That's right. Normally, it's already extremely difficult to meet one. Now, 2 of them have appeared all of a sudden. His Majesty's 60th birthday is coming soon. No matter what, the 5 great sects have to put on a show. They will definitely gather in the imperial capital. It's inevitable that the geniuses of the 5 great sects will gather here. When the time comes, will the 6 heroes gather and fight? I'm really looking forward to it. That's hard to say. Among the 6 heroes, Qiu Changkong is invincible, but the other 5 have never fought before. I don't know who is stronger and who is weaker. It would be great if we could have a peak duel this time. On the streets, countless people were discussing. As for the fact that they couldn't fly in the Imperial City, they simply ignored it. If the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun tribe couldn't fly in the Imperial capital, who else could? They were the future overlords of the Burning Sun Empire. In the future, the entire Burning Sun Empire would be their world. Lu Ming didn't say anything and continued to walk toward the Imperial Palace. However, a sharp light flashed across his eyes. The 6 heroes of the Burning Sun tribe, he would reach this height sooner or later, or even surpass it. He successfully entered the Imperial Palace and met with Hua Kai. Unfortunately, although the Imperial Palace had sent out a large number of people, there was still no news of his father. Lu Ming sighed and could only wait. After discussing the current situation with Hua Kai, Lu Ming left the Imperial Palace. When he arrived at the entrance of the Star General Hall, he saw that a large number of students had gathered and were dispersing. Tianyun, he's back. Damn it, why did he only appear now? Why didn't he appear before? It's all his fault. Murmurs could be heard from the surrounding students. Of course, they were whispering, afraid that Lu Ming would hear them. Lu Ming frowned. He didn't understand what was going on. Big brother Tianyun. At this moment, with a soft cry, Ming Feng came over. Ming Peak, what's going on? Lu Ming asked. Big brother Tianyun, it's the Shifang Sword faction. Just now, the disciples of the Shifang Sword faction came and threatened to cripple you. However, you weren't here and everyone said that you were in seclusion. Those disciples of the Shifang Sword faction injured more than a dozen students of the Star General Hall. They were extremely arrogant. Ming Peak whispered. Shifang Sword faction again. Killing intent flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. Big brother Tianyun, I think you should avoid them for now. I heard that among the disciples of the Shifang Sword faction, there's a genius on the silver list. He's an existence that stands at the peak of the martial Grandmaster realm and is extremely powerful. Ming Peak said worriedly. If they come again, let me know. Lu Ming said in a domineering tone before he returned to his dormitory. In the following days, Lu Ming stayed in his dormitory and practiced various martial techniques on the 3rd platform of the Temple of Paragon. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. During this half a month, the geniuses of the 5 major sects gathered in the imperial capital. Not only were there geniuses of the martial Grandmaster realm, but there were also geniuses of the martial Grandmaster realm. Even the gold-class disciples of the various sects could be seen occasionally. However, during this half a month, although all the sects had gathered, it was very peaceful. Even the disciples of the Shifang Sword faction didn't look for Lu Ming again. However, everyone felt that the atmosphere wasn't right, as if it was the eve of a storm. It was unusually depressing. Half a month later, the Emperor of the Blazing Sun Empire, Hua Zhengxing's 60th birthday celebration began. Early in the morning, Hua Kai took a beast carriage to pick up Lu Ming. They arrived at the Imperial Palace together. The birthday celebration was held in the front yard of the Imperial Palace. The area was extremely spacious, but there were only a few dozen tables. Because those who could come here were all people of noble status, there weren't many people. Lu Ming followed Hua Kai and sat at a table on the right. As time passed, the number of people gradually increased. Some of Hua Kai's brothers and sisters, as well as the imperial concubines, princes, and ministers, all took their seats one by one. The Valley Master of the Crimson Cloud Valley and the elders have arrived. A loud shout spread throughout the entire venue. The faces of the princes, princesses, imperial concubines, and ministers all changed as they stood up together. Lu Ming didn't want to be too special, so he also stood up. At the gate, a group of 6 people walked in with majestic steps. The person in the lead looked middle-aged with a full beard. He wore a red robe and was extremely tall and sturdy. His gaze swept across, and everyone felt as if a vast sea was surging towards them. It was incomparably terrifying. Behind him, there were 4 old men who also wore red robes, but the red robes were trimmed with gold. They were the golden-robed elders of the Crimson Cloud Valley. The last one was a young man, but he was one of the 6 heroes, Ling Yangkai. Greetings to the Valley Master of the Crimson Cloud Valley. All the imperial concubines, princes, and ministers bowed to the Valley Master of the Crimson Cloud Valley. It could be seen how declining the imperial family was. They were respectful in front of the 5 major sects. Haha, no need to be so polite. Where's His Majesty, hasn't he arrived yet? Chapter 253. Haha, Brother Ling, you came so quickly. Please forgive me for not going out to welcome you. Bold laughter rang out as Hua Zhengxing strode over with a few guards in tow. The other concubines, ministers, princes, and princesses bowed to Hua Zhengxing. The Crimson Cloud Valley Master stood up and cupped his fists. Greetings, Your Majesty. Congratulations on your 60th birthday. This is a small gift, please accept it. The Crimson Cloud Valley Master took out a jade box and handed it to Hua Zhengxing. Brother Ling, you're too polite. Hua Zhengxing smiled and accepted the jade box, handing it to a guard. Mystic Essence Sword Sect Master and Elders have arrived. At this moment, another shout was heard. Lu Ming looked towards the source of the voice. Mystic Essence Sword Sect Master Lin Shui walked in with a few golden-robed elders. Feng Wuji was also beside them. Lin Shui greets Your Majesty. I wish Your Majesty a long life. This is a small gift, please accept it. Lin Shui walked over, took out a jade box, and handed it to Hua Zhengxing. Brother Lin, it's my honor that you're here. There's no need to be so polite. Please take a seat. Hua Zhengxing accepted the gift and said politely. At this moment, another shout was heard. It was the Ghost Moon Saber Sect Master and Elders of one of the 5 major sects. Among them, one of the 6 heroes, the number 1 genius of the Ghost Moon Saber Sect, Shangguan Luo, had also arrived. 3 of the 5 major sects had arrived. Soon, one of the 5 major sects, the Heaven Fiend Sect, had also arrived. Everyone took their seats, and Hua Zhengxing chatted with the 4 sect masters. 10 Directions Sword Sect Master and Elders have arrived. Sky Suppressing King has arrived. Several shouts were heard. Everyone was shocked. Lu Ming looked towards the entrance. A group of people walked in. The person in the lead was dressed in luxurious clothes. His eyebrows were sharp like swords. Although he was middle-aged, he was extremely handsome. Just one look at him and one could feel that he had the power to conquer mountains and rivers. Beside him was a burly man in his 50s. He had a stocky build and wore a dragon robe. As he looked around, a murderous aura could be vaguely seen. He was like a general who had dominated the battlefield. The person in the lead is 10 Directions Sword Sect Master, Qiu Wuyang. Beside him is Sky Suppressing King. Hua Kai whispered in Lu Ming's ear. Lu Ming nodded. He looked at the muscular man in the Jiao dragon robe and thought, so he is Heavenly King Suppression. Lu Ming still remembered how he had taught the suppressing Heavenly King's son, Hua Jie, a harsh lesson when he had just arrived at the imperial city. Thinking of Hua Jie, Lu Ming realized that there was a pair of eyes filled with killing intent behind Heavenly King Suppression. If it wasn't Hua Jie, who else could it be? Lu Ming smiled faintly at Hua Jie and pointed to his crotch. Hua Jie's face turned red and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Obviously, Lu Ming was referring to him peeing his pants in fright. However, with so many important figures present, how could he dare to flare up? He could only grit his teeth and bear with it. Haha, Brother Qiu has graced us with your presence. This emperor is extremely honored. Hua Zhengxing quickly got up and cupped his fists at Qiu Wuyang with a smile on his face. The other concubines, princes, and princesses also stood up and bowed respectfully. Your Majesty is too polite. I came in a hurry today and forgot to bring a gift. Please forgive me. Qiu Wuyang nodded indifferently. There was no trace of respect in his tone. It could be said that he didn't care at all. To put it in a bad way, he didn't take the emperor seriously at all. The other sect masters would more or less greet him politely, but Qiu Wuyang's attitude was cold. Not to mention greeting him, he even said that he didn't have time to bring birthday gifts. How childish was this reason? The other sect masters' faces turned ugly. Hua Zhangxing was even more stunned. Then, he forced a smile and said, "Brother Chiu, it's enough that you're here. There's no need for gifts. Please take a seat." "Second brother, I came with sect master Chiu and forgot to bring gifts. Please don't take offense." "Haha." Heavenly King Suppression laughed and sat down on the side. "Damn it." Hua Kai was so angry that his whole body trembled and his teeth chattered. Chiu Wuyang and Heavenly King Suppression's attitude was blatant contempt. They even ignored the emperor's authority and didn't take the emperor of the Burning Sun Empire seriously at all. Anger flashed across Hua Zhangxing's eyes, but he hid it well. In the blink of an eye, a smile appeared on his face. He returned to his seat and raised his wine cup. "It's my great honor to have all of you here today. Come, let me toast to all of you." Everyone raised their cups and drank it in one gulp. "Haha, this is great. All of you are the pillars of the Burning Sun Empire." Hua Zhangxing said with a laugh, but he was interrupted at this moment. "All right, Your Majesty. The wine has been drunk and the congratulations have been given. It's time to talk about business," Chiu Wuyang said flatly, stopping Hua Zhangxing in the middle of his sentence. Hua Zhangxing, as well as some other nobles and ministers, had ugly expressions on their faces. Interrupting others was an extremely rude thing to do, let alone the emperor of a country. Chiu Wuyang did not take the royal family seriously at all. "Chiu Wuyang, we are here today to celebrate His Majesty's birthday. This is the proper business. Is there anything else?" Lin Shui looked at Chiu Wuyang and said coldly. Chiu Wuyang's attitude was too much. Hua Zhangxing looked at Lin Shui gratefully. "Of course there is something else. Although His Majesty's birthday celebration is important, it is much less important compared to this." Chiu Wuyang glanced at Lin Shui indifferently. A murderous aura flashed across the depths of his eyes. He then looked around and said, "Everyone, what do you think of the Burning Sun Empire?" Everyone's eyes flickered. They didn't understand why Chiu Wuyang asked this question. After a while, an elder cupped his fists and said, "With the support of His Majesty and the various sect leaders, the Burning Sun Empire's national strength is improving day by day. It is only a matter of time before we surpass other countries." This elder was the Prime Minister of the Burning Sun Empire and was loyal to the imperial family bullshit. Chiu Wuyang flung his sleeves and scolded. The Prime Minister's face flushed red. As the Prime Minister, how could he be scolded in public like this? Where was his dignity? But in front of Chiu Wuyang, he didn't dare to refute and could only hold it in. Hua Zhangxing's face was also ugly. Scolding the Prime Minister was indirectly scolding him. Currently, the 36 countries of Emperor Yun are working hard and improving their strength. The Burning Sun Empire is surrounded by strong enemies. The other countries are eyeing us covetously and most of them are stronger than the Burning Sun Empire. Everyone knows this, right? Among the 36 countries of Emperor Yun, the Burning Sun Empire's strength is at the bottom. Chiu Wuyang looked around and said loudly. Everyone's face changed slightly. Chiu Wuyang was right. Among the 36 countries of Emperor Yun, the Burning Sun Empire's strength was indeed at the bottom. Moreover, the surrounding countries were eyeing them covetously. The Burning Sun Empire has many geniuses and experts. But why is it getting weaker and weaker? Do you know the reason? Chiu Wuyang asked. Everyone frowned. They didn't know what Chiu Wuyang was trying to say. Seeing that no one spoke, Chiu Wuyang smiled faintly and said, "That is, the strength of the Burning Sun Empire is too spread out and everyone fights for themselves. It would be strange if they weren't weak." "Oh, Chiu Wuyang, what should we do according to what you said?" Chapter 254. Of course we have to combine our forces. I suggest that we establish a Burning Sun Alliance. All the sects and forces of the Burning Sun Empire must join this alliance and elect a leader. Then, they must swear that they will listen to the leader's orders. This way, the Burning Sun Empire will be strong and able to defend against external enemies and become stronger. Chiu Wuyang said loudly. "Ha ha ha, Chiu Wuyang, your goal has finally been revealed. You want to be the leader and command the world, right? Lin Shui laughed. Lin Shui, what are you laughing at? I think that sect leader Chou's suggestion is great. Besides, who else in the Burning Sun Empire has the qualifications to be the leader? Heavenly King Suppression stood up and said loudly, Heavenly King Suppression, you are wrong. In the Burning Sun Empire, the royal family is the orthodox. Why do we have to go through so much trouble and establish a Burning Sun alliance? We can just listen to His Majesty. Red Cloud Valley Master retorted. In the world of martial arts, the strong are respected. Forgive me for being blunt, but His Majesty doesn't have the qualifications, Qiu Wuyang said coldly. Keek. Hua Zhangxing clenched his fists tightly. Insult. This was a blatant insult. This was equivalent to slapping the emperor's face in public. Damn it, damn it. Hua Kai let out a low roar as his body trembled due to the atmosphere. Bam! A white-haired elder slammed the table and stood up abruptly. He raised his trembling hand and pointed at Qiu Wuyang as he shouted angrily, Qiu Wuyang, you have committed treason and insulted His Majesty. You deserve to die 1,000 times. Deserve to die 1,000 times? I think you are the one who deserves to die. Qiu Wuyang's eyes flashed as 2 rays of sword qi shot out from his eyes. They were extremely fast and there was almost no warning. Poochie. The elder was pierced by the sword qi. 2 sword holes appeared on his aged body. No blood flowed out but there was no sign of life. Teacher. Hua Zhangxing roared angrily. This elder was Hua Zhangxing's teacher and the emperor's preceptor. However, he was killed by Qiu Wuyang's gaze. Qiu Wuyang, you have gone too far. Hua Zhangxing was seething with anger as he glared at Qiu Wuyang. However, Qiu Wuyang only smiled faintly as if he had just killed an ant. He said, this old man has ulterior motives. He wants to destroy the great plan of governing the country. I suspect that he is a spy sent by other empires to destroy the Burning Sun Empire. Such a person naturally has to be killed as soon as possible. With just a few words, he managed to turn an imperial preceptor into a spy. Hua Zhangxing, Hua Kai, and the rest of the imperial family were enraged and humiliated, but there was nothing they could do. The Decimo Sword sect was too powerful. Hua Kai clenched his fists tightly. Because he used too much strength, his nails pierced into his flesh and blood flowed out, but he didn't feel anything. Lu Ming frowned and patted Hua Kai's back. A stream of true qi flowed into Hua Kai's body. Only then did Hua Kai slowly calm down. Otherwise, he would have suffered from internal injuries due to excessive agitation. What do you think of my suggestion? Qiu Wuyang looked around and asked. I agree with Sect Master Qiu's proposal. At this moment, the Heaven Fiend Sect Master smiled faintly. The moment Heaven Fiend Sect Master said that, the faces of the other 3 sects' Sect Masters changed. Why would the Heaven Fiend Sect agree? Could it be that they had already joined forces with the Decimo Sword sect? If that was the case, then the situation was serious. The Decimo Sword sect was already very powerful. If the Heaven Fiend sect joined forces with them, then the balance of the Blazing Sun Empire would be broken. Haha, brother you really understand me. Qiu Wuyang laughed and looked at the other sects. Qiu Wuyang, stop dreaming. My Mystic Essence Sword sect will never agree. Lin Shui sneered. My Crimson Cloud Valley will not accompany you. My Ghost Moon Saber sect is not interested either. The sect masters of the Crimson Cloud Valley and Ghost Moon Saber sect rejected as well. Qiu Wuyang's face darkened. He then looked at Hua Zhangxing and asked, Your Majesty, what about you? Me? Haha, the Blazing Sun Empire has a history of more than 2,000 years. How can I destroy thousands of years of foundation in my hands? Please forgive me, but it is very difficult for me to agree. Hua Zhangxing said coldly. Hua Zhangxing, you have to think carefully. For the sake of your Hua family and the lives of tens of thousands of people, think carefully. Murderous intent flashed across Qiu Wuyang's eyes as he said coldly. Qiu Wuyang, what are you doing? Are you threatening His Majesty? Do you really think that the Decimo Sword sect is invincible? Lin Shui was enraged and shouted loudly. I don't know if my Decimo Sword sect is invincible, but I can still destroy your Mystic Essence Sword sect. Why? Do you want to try? Qiu Wuyang said coldly. Let's try. Let's see how you can destroy my mystic essence sword sect. Lin Shui did not back down. The aura on her body surged and a terrifying sword qi soared into the sky. There was a terrifying aura in this sword qi. Lin Shui, we have not fought for decades. Today, I would like to see how much you have improved. Boom. As Qiu Wuyang's voice fell, an extremely powerful aura erupted from his body. At the same time, a ray of sword qi soared into the sky. Boom. Lin Shui's and Qiu Wuyang's sword qi met in the air and collided violently. There was an earth-shattering boom and the entire imperial capital shook. The place where the two sword qi collided formed a light pillar that shot into the sky and smashed the clouds in the sky. At this moment, everyone in the imperial capital was staring at this pillar of light in a daze. They were extremely shocked. The light pillar could be seen even further away from the imperial capital. Everyone was guessing what kind of existences were fighting. In the imperial palace, Lu Ming looked on in shock. Was this the strength of a sect leader and an overlord of the Blazing Sun Empire? It was indeed terrifying. It was as deep as the sea and unfathomable. An ordinary martial arts grandmaster could be killed with a flick of their fingers. In the previous move, the two of them did not really fight. It was just an exchange of aura. If they really fought, the imperial capital would be destroyed. Aura, what powerful aura. Their auras have definitely reached perfection. There is even a hint of will in it. Lu Ming's mind was racing. After one's aura reached perfection, one could use the aura as a foundation to comprehend will. For example, fire intent, wind intent, etc. Will was the essence of heaven and earth and was extremely powerful. Only by comprehending will could one step into the martial king realm. Lin Shui, today, I will kill you first. Qiu Wuyang roared. His sword qi soared into the sky and stirred up the clouds. I'm not afraid of you. Lin Shui's long hair fluttered in the wind. She was extremely powerful and did not back down in the face of Qiu Wuyang. Boom. Boom. At this moment, two auras exploded. They were extremely terrifying and were not inferior to Lin Shui's and Qiu Wuyang's. It was the Scarlet Cloud Valley Master and the Ghost Moon Saber sect leader. Their auras combined with Lin Shui's to suppress Qiu Wuyang. Qiu Wuyang, do you really think that the Blazing Sun Empire belongs to the Shifang Sword sect? Don't go overboard. The Scarlet Cloud Valley Master said. The Scarlet Cloud Valley and the Mystic Essence Sword sect had always been on good terms. Naturally, he was on Lin Shui's side. Chapter 255. Qiu Wuyang's expression changed instantly. The three Overlord-class characters had joined forces and made him feel extremely pressured. Lin Shui, what are you doing? You attacked Sect Master Qiu in the palace. Are you confident that the imperial family will take you seriously? Heavenly King Suppression roared. Many people despised him. The one who did not take the imperial family seriously was Qiu Wuyang. Heavenly King Suppression did not speak up when he humiliated the imperial family just now. Now, he jumped out to suppress Lin Shui and the others with the imperial family's name. Despicable and shameless. Good, good, very good. Lin Shui, Ling Potian, let's wait and see. Qiu Wuyang repeated the word good several times. His gaze was unusually cold as it swept over Lin Shui, Valley Master Scarlet Cloud, and the rest of the group before finally landing on Hua Zhengxing. Hua Zhengxing, you, take care of yourself. His voice was cold and the threat was obvious. Then, he waved his hand and stepped into the air to leave. The others from Decimo Sword sect followed closely behind. Brother, you are so ignorant. The Hua family will be destroyed in your hands sooner or later. Heavenly King Suppression stared at Hua Zhengxing angrily. Trend. The general trend is to have the entire Hua clan submit to the 10 Directions Sword sect and become their slaves. Hua Zhengxing spoke and looked at Heavenly King Suppression mockingly. You, Heavenly King Suppression's face turned ugly. He snorted and left with Hua Jie and the others. Before leaving, Heavenly King Suppression glanced at Lu Ming, which made Lu Ming's hair stand on end. That was a blatant killing intent. Your Majesty, I will take my leave first. The Heaven Fiend sect leader smiled and stood up to bid farewell, leaving with his men. Only 3 of the 5 major sects were left. The birthday banquet continued, but Hua Zhangxing, Lin Shui, and the other sect masters of the 3 major sects all had serious expressions. Today, Qiu Wuyang suddenly proposed to establish the Sun Alliance, and the Sky Fiend sect agreed. They guessed that the Sky Fiend sect had most likely joined forces with Decimo Sword sect. This was a big deal. The balance of power in the Sun Empire was going to be broken. The Sun Empire was going to enter troubled times. The atmosphere of the birthday banquet was very tense. Soon, the 3 major sects also left. Not long after, Lu Ming also got up to leave. Lu Ming, I'm sure you've seen what happened today. The Decimo Sword sect is simply too ambitious and lawless. Hua Kai gnashed his teeth as he sent Lu Ming to the entrance of the palace. Lu Ming patted Hua Kai's shoulder. He didn't say anything and returned to the Star General Hall. Returning to the General Hall and sitting on his bed, Lu Ming's thoughts flew about, unable to calm down. The Emperor's birthday banquet today allowed him to truly see the undercurrent of the Burning Sun Empire. He had a feeling that the Burning Sun Empire was about to fall into chaos. A terrifying storm would probably sweep through the empire in the near future. As for him, because of his friends and family, he was already deeply involved in the whirlpool and could not stay out of it. The only thing he could do now was to increase his strength as much as possible. Without strength, he would only be crushed into powder in this storm. Taking a few deep breaths, Zhongxian adjusted his mood and began cultivating. Somewhere in the imperial capital, there was an extremely luxurious palace that was even more luxurious than the palace. This was the residence of the Decimo Sword sect in the imperial capital. In the depths of the palace, in a large hall, Qiu Wuyang sat on the seat of honor. Below him sat the golden-robed elders of the Decimo Sword sect. Bam! Qiu Wuyang slammed the table with a gloomy face. Mystic Essence Sword sect, Crimson Cloud Valley, and Ghost Moon Saber sect. I already knew that these 3 sects would not agree. A bunch of damned things. Sect Master, especially that Lin Shui, has been targeting Sect Master. She actually dared to fight Sect Master. She really overestimated herself. A golden-robed elder said. Lin Shui, the Mystic Essence Sword sect won't be arrogant for long. Qiu Wuyang sneered. After pondering for a while, Qiu Wuyang said, it's time to let them know the strength of our Decimo Sword sect. Pass down the order. Let the younger generation make the first move and break their morale. Let them understand how weak their so-called geniuses are. Yes. The golden-robed elders replied in unison. 3 days later, a piece of news swept through the imperial capital like a storm. One of the 6 heroes of the Decimo Sword sect, Guan Hong, challenged the Mystic Essence Sword sect's Feng Wuji and the Crimson Cloud Valley's Ling Yankai. The location was at the highest peak of the imperial capital, the Sunset Peak. Once the news spread, everyone went crazy. Among the 6 heroes of the Blazing Sun sect, each of the other 4 sects had 1 person. Only the Decimo Sword sect had 2 people. One was Qiu Changkong, and the other was Guan Hong. Qiu Changkong was the leader of the 6 heroes. He was extremely powerful and could easily suppress the other 5. As for the other 5, they had never fought before. No one knew who was stronger. Now, were they finally going to fight? Countless people rushed to the Sunset Peak, wanting to see the battle between the 6 heroes. When Lu Ming finished his 3-day seclusion and walked out of his room, he saw Ming Peak rushing over. Ming Peak, what's the hurry? Lu Ming asked. Big brother Tianyun, let's go to the Sunset Peak. The battle between the 6 heroes is about to start. Guan Hong is challenging Feng Wuji and Ling Yankai. My big brother and the others have already rushed over and asked me to look for you. If we don't go now, it will be too late. Ming Peak said while panting. The battle between the 6 heroes? Lu Ming was stunned. Then, his eyes lit up. He grabbed Ming Peak and took a step forward. They were already 50 meters away. Then, he said, let's go. Lu Ming grabbed Ming Peak and executed the soaring steps. They were as fast as the wind and rushed to the Sunset Peak. The Sunset Peak was in the imperial capital. It was located in the west of the imperial capital. When Lu Ming approached the sunset peak, he saw a shocking scene. Countless figures from all directions converged into a long line and rushed towards Sunset Peak. There were so many people that it was impossible to distinguish them. There were even martial ancestor realm experts among them. Lu Ming followed the crowd and quickly approached the Sunset Peak. Boom! Boom! At this moment, there was a terrifying roar at the top of the Sunset Peak. The battle has begun. Guan Hong and Feng Wuji have started fighting. Someone shouted. Let's go and see. Whoosh! Whoosh! One figure after another ascended Sunset Peak. Lu Ming grabbed Ming Peak as if he was weightless. He stepped on a blade of grass and his figure shot forward 100 meters. He was approaching the top of the mountain. Boom! On the top of the mountain, there were continuous booming sounds. Lu Ming lifted his head and saw two figures charging continuously in the sky above the mountain peak. The sword aura was shocking and terrifying shock waves were surging outwards. A suffocating pressure pervaded the area for several miles. What powerful combat strength! Lu Ming's eyes flashed. With his eyesight, he could naturally see that one of them was Feng Wuji of the Mystic Essence Sword sect. The other person was tall and had a wild aura. The battle sword in his hand was extremely wide. He must be Guan Hong. Lu Ming was extremely fast. In just a few minutes, he reached the top of the mountain. At this time, Guan Hong and Feng Wuji had already exchanged hundreds of blows. Feng Wuji, lose. Chapter 256. The sword seemed to be able to cut through the sky. Its power was terrifying. Feng Wuji also roared and slashed out a shocking sword light. Boom! A terrifying fluctuation was heard, and the space trembled under the powerful sword chi. Then, Feng Wuji's figure was pushed back. His body trembled, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. Feng Wuji is injured. Feng Wuji has lost. Suddenly, there was an earth-shattering shout around the Sunset Peak. Countless people were shouting excitedly. The other 5 of the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun had finally won. Guan Hong defeated Feng Wuji. The Decimo Sword faction is too strong. Not only did Qiu Changkong defeat the other heroes, but even Guan Hong is so strong. The number 1 sect of the Burning Sun Empire lives up to its name. In the future, the Decimo Sword faction will be even stronger. Many people sighed. Feng Wuji, you're just SOSO. Guan Hong stood in the air and said proudly. Feng Wuji's face was dejected. He sighed and said, Guan Hong, I didn't expect your force to be so strong. It's not surprising that I lost. Guan Hong smiled proudly and said, Feng Wuji, in my opinion, you're not qualified to be called the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun Empire. Let's change it to the 5 heroes. As soon as he said that, many people's faces changed, and Feng Wuji's face turned ugly. Guan Hong's words were to kick Feng Wuji out of the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun Empire. If that was really the case, it wouldn't just be Feng Wuji, but the entire Mystic Essence Sword sect. The Mystic Essence Sword sect's reputation would be greatly damaged, and some geniuses might not even choose to join the Mystic Essence Sword sect in the future. Guan Hong, you're just lucky to win against Brother Feng. Why are you so arrogant? Someone shouted from the side. Lu Ming looked in the direction of the voice and discovered that there were a few people standing in the sky by the side. Lu Ming was distracted by the battle between Feng Wuji and Guan Hong, so he didn't notice them until now. There were 4 people in total. Lu Ming had seen 3 of them at the Emperor's birthday banquet. They were the other 3 of the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun Empire. Ling Yankai from the Crimson Cloud Valley. He was the one who shouted. There were also Shangguan Kai from the Ghost Moon Saber sect and Zhuo Lian from the Sky sect. There was another person who was extremely young, only about 23 or 24 years old. He carried a broad sword on his back and stood proudly. Guan Hong looked at Ling Yankai. Guan Hong, this time you declared that you would challenge me and Brother Feng. Now that it's my turn, I won't take advantage of you. Now, circulate your qi and adjust your breathing. Once you've recovered, we'll fight. Ling Yankai continued. Ling Yankai, who said I want to fight with you? The one who dealt with you was someone else. Guan Hong smiled coldly. Someone else? Ling Yankai was stunned. He could not help but look at Shangguan Qiong and Zhuo Lian. Ling Yankai, you're looking at the wrong place. The one fighting with you is me. The young man with a sword on his back stepped forward and said proudly. You! Ling Yankai was stunned. Everyone else was stunned. This young man was obviously a disciple of the 10 Directions sword sect, but almost no one knew him. 10 Directions sword sect actually wanted to let a youth with no reputation fight Ling Yankai? Was this arrogance or an insult? Ha ha ha, Guan Hong, are you sure he's qualified to fight with me? Ling Yanchi's eyes were full of anger. Whether he's qualified or not, we'll know after the fight. Guan Hong smiled coldly. From now on, the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun will be replaced. The young man said proudly. Ha ha, boy, you're very confident, aren't you? Ling Yankai laughed out of anger. It's not confidence, it's strength. Remember, the one who defeated you is Qiu Changlai. The young man shouted and his aura burst out. The sword on his back unsheathed and flew up to the sky, slashing at Ling Yankai. The sword shook the heavens and the earth. It was terrifying. In an instant, most of the people's faces changed. They were extremely shocked. Because the sword was too powerful. In the sky, Ling Yanchi's face turned solemn. His body emitted scorching waves and a spear appeared in his hand. He waved the spear and a giant flaming eagle was formed, attacking Qiu Changlai. Boom! With a loud boom, Ling Yankai and Qiu Changlai both retreated. Then, they roared and fought again. He's too powerful. Who is this Qiu Changlai? He's not famous before, but his combat strength is so strong that he can fight with Ling Yankai. I'm afraid he's a genius secretly cultivated by the Shifang sword sect. On the sunset peak, countless people looked at the battle in the sky and discussed. In the sky, Feng Wuji, Shangguan Luo, and the others looked solemn. Guan Hong, on the other hand, revealed a cold smile. Boom! Boom! In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged more than 100 blows. Bang! At this moment, an earth-shattering sound was heard. Then, a figure flew back. It was Ling Yankai. The crowd quieted down. Did Ling Yankai lose? Swoosh! Ling Yankai retreated for more than 1,000 meters before he stopped. He stood silently in the void, unmoving. Suddenly, Ling Yanchi's body trembled and a blood arrow shot out from his chest. At this moment, the crowd saw a long sword wound on Ling Yanchi's chest. Ling Yankai was defeated. He was defeated by an unknown young man from the Shifang sword sect. The Sunset Peak was in an uproar. This news was like a whirlwind, spreading from the Sunset Peak to the entire imperial capital. The Shifang sword sect was too strong. First, Guan Hong defeated Feng Wuji. Then, a young man appeared and defeated Ling Yankai. It was too shocking. From now on, the situation of the younger generation in the Burning Sun sect would change substantially. Should he exclude Feng Wuji and Ling Yankai from the list? Or should they add one more person? No matter what, the Shifang sword sect's reputation would reach its peak. In the sky, Ling Yanchi's body trembled slightly. His eyes were filled with disbelief. I told you to remember that the one who defeated you is called Qiu Changlai. Qiu Changlai smiled arrogantly, a hint of disdain appearing on his face. Brother Ling, are you okay? Feng Wuji appeared beside Ling Yankai and injected a stream of true qi into him. I'm fine. Ling Yankai smiled bitterly. Feng Wuji sighed. Today, he and Ling Yankai were completely defeated. From now on, the reputation of the Mystic Essence Sword Sect and the Crimson Cloud Valley would plummet. On the other hand, the Shifang Sword Sect would rise. Wonderful, wonderful. The heroes of the Shifang Sword Sect are really admirable. Zhuo Lian of the Sky Demon Sect clapped his hands and walked out. He then looked at Shangguan Qiong and said, Brother Shangguan, since you're here today, why don't we fight? Let's fight. Shangguan Qiong was very direct. He stared at Zhuo Lian. The crowd was excited. 2 more of the Burning Sun 6 heroes were going to fight. Boom. Without any warning, Shangguan Qiong and Zhuo Lian started fighting. The 2 of them fought fiercely. Ming Peak, stay here and watch. I'll go first. At this moment, Lu Ming said to Ming Peak. Chapter 257. You can keep watching. Lu Ming smiled. He then moved and headed down the Sunset Peak. He didn't come here to see the outcome of the battle between the 6 heroes, but to see their strength. Now that he had a rough idea of the strength of the 6 Burning Sun heroes, there was no need for him to continue watching. He couldn't care less about the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun tribe. Lu Ming moved like a gust of wind and returned to the dormitory very quickly. He sat cross-legged on his bed and closed his eyes. The battle scene of the 6 Burning Sun heroes appeared in his mind. He had a rough idea of the strength of the 6 Burning Sun heroes. Feng Wuji, Ling Yangkai, Guan Hong, Qiu Changlai, and the others were all at the peak of LV3 Martial Grandmaster realm, but their combat strength was terrifying. They were at least at LV5 Martial Grandmaster realm. That was Martial Grandmaster realm. The higher one's martial arts realm was, the harder it was to fight above one's level. In the Martial Grandmaster realm, those who could fight above 1 level were already peerless geniuses, let alone 2 levels. As for Guan Hong and Qiu Changlai, they could only win because their force or martial techniques were stronger. The 6 Burning Sun heroes are indeed worthy of their reputation. They are only in their 20s, but many of the older grandmasters are no match for them. Lu Ming thought to himself. However, Lu Ming was not discouraged. Instead, his eyes were burning with passion. Although the 6 Burning Sun heroes were strong, he was confident that he could catch up with or even surpass them soon. After thinking for a while, Lu Ming left the Star General Hall and went to the Treasure Pavilion again. He used the last 400,000 spiritual crystals. He had to buy 100 Class 9 LV3 monster cores. After buying the monster cores, Lu Ming went into the Divine Wind Valley. The arduous cultivation continued. Every day, Lu Ming would gain something. Be it his cultivation level, martial arts techniques, or force, all of them improved. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, another month had passed. Lu Ming had refined all 100 monster cores. He walked out of the Divine Wind Valley at this time. He returned to his dormitory but did not go in. Instead, he went to Ming Peak's room. He wanted to find Ming Peak to ask about the situation in the Imperial City in the past month. He had a premonition that the Imperial capital wouldn't be peaceful during this month. Many things would definitely happen. When he arrived at Ming Peak's dormitory, he found that Ming Peak was not there. Could it be in Myongcheng's place? With a thought, Lu Ming walked towards Myongcheng's dormitory. Now, Myongcheng had replaced Bai Kai's position as one of the top 10 experts of the outer hall. He lived in a courtyard. When he arrived at Myongcheng's dormitory, he found that Ming Peak and Pearl were both here. They were sitting on a stone bench in the courtyard with Myongcheng and were chatting. Big brother Tianyun, you've come out of seclusion? Ming Peak grinned when he saw Lu Ming. Lu Ming, others call me a martial arts madman, but I think you're the real one. You can still go into seclusion peacefully at this time. Myongcheng smiled. Oh, why can't I go into seclusion peacefully? Did something big happen in the Imperial City during this time? Lu Ming asked with a smile. Of course. During this period of time, the Imperial City has been in turmoil. Myongcheng said, a month ago, Feng Wuji and Ling Yangkai were defeated in the battle between the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun sect. Shangguan Qiu and Zhuo Lian fought and exchanged thousands of blows. However, this matter didn't end there. A few days later, the gold-rank disciples of the various sects fought fiercely. However, the 10 Direction Sword sect was extremely powerful. They had the upper hand in the battle between the gold-rank disciples. About 10 days ago, the 10 Directions Sword sect sent out a 9th-level martial grandmaster to challenge the Mystic Essence Sword sect, Crimson Cloud Valley, and Star General Hall. The Star General Hall was the first to suffer a crushing defeat. The strongest group of people in the inner hall were swept away by a disciple of the 10 Directions Sword sect without any power to fight back. After that, the Crimson Cloud Valley and the Mystic Essence Sword sect also suffered a crushing defeat. The disciples sent out by the 10 Directions Sword sect were too strong. They were invincible in the martial Grand Master realm. The disciples of the Mystic Essence Sword sect on the silver ranking were all defeated. Ming Cheng gave a brief account of what had happened. Lu Ming was also secretly surprised. In this month, many things had happened in the imperial capital. In this month, the reputation of the 10 Direction Sword sect has been like the sun in the sky. On the other hand, the Mystic Essence Sword sect, Crimson Cloud Valley, and the others have suffered a great decline in reputation. Especially the royal family, they have been suppressed even more. It is said that the Mystic Essence Sword sect has already mobilized the Chilean courtyard's geniuses with special bloodlines to come here and compete with the geniuses of the 10 Direction Sword sect. Myong Cheng said. Big brother, among the 9th layer martial grand masters sent by the 10 Direction Sword sect, there is a special bloodline. If the Mystic Essence Sword sect or Crimson Cloud Valley's geniuses with special bloodlines come here, they might be able to fight. Pearl said with her bright eyes. It's hard to say. I heard that the strongest martial grand masters of the 10 Direction Sword sect have not made their move yet. Myong Cheng said. It can't be. Myong Cheng and Ming Peak were speechless. Myong Cheng, brother Myong Cheng, something big has happened. Suddenly, a young man rushed in hurriedly. Che Yuan, what's wrong? Myong Cheng looked at the young man and asked. I heard that the Mystic Essence Sword sect's geniuses with special bloodlines have arrived, and the 10 Direction Sword sect's disciples have already come to challenge them. The young man said. What? So soon? Let's go and have a look. Myong Cheng shouted, then looked at Lu Ming and said, Brother Tianyun, do you want to come with us? Lu Ming's eyes moved, and he nodded. Together with Myong Cheng and the others, they rushed to the Mystic Essence Sword sect's residence in Imperial City. When they arrived, they found that the entrance of the Mystic Essence Sword sect's residence was already surrounded by people. At the front, there were more than 10 Direction Sword sect's disciples. A 10 Direction Sword sect's disciple stood at the entrance of the Mystic Essence Sword sect's residence and shouted arrogantly, Mystic Essence Sword sect's trash, hurry up and come out. What special bloodline geniuses? I think they're just a bunch of trash. Ha ha ha. The other 10 Direction Sword sect's disciples burst into laughter, full of contempt. A few of the Mystic Essence Sword sect's guards turned pale. Mystic Essence Sword sect's trash, hurry up and come out. Are you trying to be a coward? The young man at the front continued to shout. Tianyun, this young man is called Wu Kuei. He's extremely powerful. During this period of time, he defeated almost all of the Mystic Essence Sword sect's martial grandmasters by himself. Myong Cheng whispered to Lu Ming. Creak. At that moment, the door of the Mystic Essence Sword sect's residence opened, and a few young men and women walked out. There were a total of 4 of them, 3 men and 1 woman. All of them had an imposing aura, and it was obvious that they were giants among men. Mph, Wu Kuei. Don't think that you're invincible just because you defeated those trash from the 4 great halls. Comparing us to those trash is your biggest mistake. A young man carrying a battle axe walked out and said arrogantly. Lu Ming could not help but curl his lips. The people from the Chilean courtyard were really the same. Regardless of their cultivation level, they were all high and mighty. Of course, except for the mid-autumn moon, Lu Ming added in his heart. Hee. Special bloodlines are also divided into high and low ranks. Some special bloodlines are trash. In my opinion, you guys are similar to those trash. Wu Kuei sneered. You're courting death. Chapter 258. The young man from the Mystic Essence Sword sect shouted and slashed down with his battle axe. The battle axe carried a terrifying force. Obviously, these geniuses who were at the peak of the martial grandmaster realm had comprehended the force and were not weak at all. Child's play. Wu Kuei sneered and punched out. A terrifying fist force landed on the battle axe. Dong. With a loud explosion, the young man with the battle axe retreated slightly. Damn it. Explode. The young man with the battle axe roared and an ancient battle axe floated above his head. There were 6 blood-red chakras on the battle axe. This was his special bloodline. The battle axe vibrated and merged with the young man, causing his aura to surge. Sky-splitting slash. The young man roared and slashed out with his battle axe. This axe strike was capable of splitting mountains and splitting the heavens. Its might was 2 times stronger than the previous axe strike. Buzz! At that moment, a blood-red light flashed on Wu Kuei's body and a boundless mountain appeared above his head. The mountain was ancient, like a demonic mountain in the primordial times. Wu Kuei's bloodline was a mountain. Without a doubt, this was also a special bloodline. How mysterious. Wu Kuei's bloodline is a mountain. I've never seen him use it before. Someone shouted. Demonic mountain of hell. Wu Kuei roared and punched out. The terrifying fist force turned into a boundless demonic mountain and pressed down on the young man with the battle axe. Slash it open. The young man with the battle axe roared and slashed the mountain with his battle axe. Boom. With a violent tremor, the mountain was not slashed open. Instead, the young man with the battle axe trembled and his body was pressed down by the mountain and smashed to the ground. With a blood-curdling scream, blood and flesh splattered everywhere. The young man with the battle axe was crushed into a pulp by the mountain. A genius with a special bloodline was killed just like that. PH. Special bloodlines contain ancient and mysterious secrets. Only by comprehending a mysterious secret skill can one unleash the power of the special bloodline to the extreme. What's the point of leaving a piece of trash who can only use special bloodlines to comprehend the force and cultivate martial skills alive? Wu Kuei sneered. The remaining young men from the Mystic Essence Sword sect looked terrible. Now, who wants to fight? Wu Kuei looked at the remaining people. In the martial Grandmaster realm, the duration of his bloodline eruption had increased to a shocking 10 minutes. He could already fight for a long period of time. The remaining members of the Mystic Essence Sword sect looked at each other with grave expressions. For a moment, no one stepped out. What? What a bunch of trash. Is this the strength of your Mystic Essence Sword sect? How disappointing. Let me tell you, there are still 5 people stronger than me in the Decimo Sword sect. Wu Kuei sneered. What? 5 more people? Impossible. Someone shouted. Everyone was shocked by Wu Kuei's words. Originally, everyone thought that with Wu Kuei's strength, he would definitely be one of the top few in the Shifang Sword sect. He might even be the strongest martial grandmaster in the Shifang Sword sect. But now, Wu Kuei actually said that there were 5 people stronger than him in the 10 Directions Sword sect. How was this possible? If it was true, wouldn't it be too terrifying? Hehe, your Mystic Essence Sword sect can't even beat me, who is ranked 6th. In my opinion, you should just withdraw from the 5 great sects. Wu Kuei continued to taunt. Damn it, I'll fight you. Among the remaining 3 people from the Mystic Essence Sword sect, a young man with a battle sword on his back walked out. There was nothing to say. The battle immediately broke out. Unfortunately, Wu Kuei was too strong. The young man with the battle sword on his back had an ancient battle sword in his bloodline. He was stronger than the young man with the battle axe, but he was still no match for Wu Kuei. After more than 30 moves, the young man with the battle sword was hit by Wu Kuei's mountain and coughed up blood. If not for his strength, he would have been crushed into a pulp. Another person from the Mystic Essence Sword sect had lost. Ha ha ha, who else? Come up and fight me. Wu Kuei laughed arrogantly. The remaining 2 people from the Mystic Essence Sword sect had ugly expressions. Their strength was not comparable to the young man with the battle sword on his back. If they went up, they would only be humiliating themselves. They might even lose their lives. However, they were already the strongest martial grandmasters in the Mystic Essence Sword sect. Who else wants to come up? Don't you even dare to fight. What a bunch of trash. Wu Kuei laughed. In the crowd, Lu Ming looked on coldly. He had no intention of fighting. What did the Mystic Essence Sword sect's defeat have to do with him? He was not interested in fighting. In the clouds above the sky, Lin Shui, the Mystic Essence Sword sect leader, and a few golden-robed elders stood among the clouds. They looked down with gloomy faces. I didn't expect the Decimo Sword sect to have secretly cultivated so many peerless geniuses over the years. Wu Kuei has already comprehended some secret techniques from his bloodline. Ordinary special bloodlines are no match for him. One of the golden-robed elders sighed. It's a pity that Duanmu Lin has broken through to the martial ancestor realm. If he was still a martial grand master, he would have defeated him. Another golden-robed elder said. Then, they all fell silent. Now that they had lost, they had to think about how to reduce their influence as much as possible. Junior brother Wu Kuei, looks like they don't dare to come up. Sigh, how disappointing. I thought I would have a decent opponent today. Another disciple from the Decimo Sword Sect sighed. Your Mystic Essence Sword Sect should withdraw from the 5 major sects as soon as possible. Don't embarrass yourself, haha. Wu Kuei laughed. In the crowd, Lu Ming smiled and shook his head. He was about to walk out. Tianyun, it's you? Stop right there. Suddenly, a loud roar was heard. Lu Ming was stunned. He stopped in his tracks and turned around. A disciple from the Decimo Sword Sect stared at Lu Ming with a gloomy face. He gritted his teeth. Obviously, this disciple had seen him before and recognized him at this time. The others beside Lu Ming were shocked and could not help but step back. Suddenly, only Myongcheng and his siblings were left around Lu Ming. His Tianyun. Wu Kuei looked at Lu Ming. Yes, his Tianyun. He has repeatedly gone against the Decimo Sword Sect. He deserves to die. The young man who recognized Lu Ming said with murderous intent. During this period, other senior brothers have been looking for him, but he has been hiding like a turtle. Today, I finally saw him. The young man added. Hiding? Lu Ming was a little speechless. He was just cultivating in seclusion. Since when did he hide? Well, then I'll get rid of him. Wu Kuei smiled coldly and walked towards Lu Ming. He looked at Lu Ming coldly and said, Tianyun, right? You should know that the crimes you've committed are unforgivable. How about this, I'll give you a chance to commit suicide. That way, I can make the decision to leave your corpse intact. Wu Kuei put his hands behind his back and looked arrogant. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. This guy thinks too highly of himself. He wants me to commit suicide. Is there something wrong with your head? Or did your mother accidentally squash your head when she gave birth to you? Lu Ming stared at Wu Kuei and said word by word. Fart. Chapter 259. They actually didn't want to laugh, but Lu Ming's words made them unable to hold back. Especially Ming Peak, he laughed until tears flowed out. Even the other disciples of the 10 Directions Sword Sect couldn't hold back their laughter. Wu Kuei's face turned red as his eyes turned red. He was so angry that his body trembled as he roared, Die, bastard. Boom. Wu Kuei threw a punch at Lu Ming. The fist force condensed into a huge mountain with shocking power. Lu Ming sneered and didn't back down at all. He also threw a punch. Bang! Lu Ming's fist smashed into the mountain that Wu Kuei threw out. A scene that made people's eyes pop out appeared. The mountain rumbled and exploded from Lu Ming's punch. Bang! 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 Wu Kuei took 7 to 8 steps back as his fist trembled non-stop. The surrounding onlookers sucked in a cold breath. Lu Ming actually forced Wu Kuei back with a punch. How was that possible? The strength that Wu Kuei displayed just now was extremely shocking. He suppressed many experts of the Mystic Essence Sword Sect and was simply an invincible existence in the martial Grandmaster realm. Now, he was actually forced back by Lu Ming with a punch. A few months ago, Lu Ming had displayed extremely powerful combat strength in the Di Tian battle arena. He was able to obtain 10 consecutive victories across 2 levels. It was extremely terrifying. However, his cultivation was only in the 6th level of the martial Grandmaster realm. As for Wu Kuei, he was at the peak of the 9th level of the martial Grandmaster realm and a peerless genius. Before this punch, no one thought that Lu Ming could fight with Wu Kuei. However, the reality exceeded everyone's expectations. Damn it! Wu Kuei roared as his aura became even more terrifying. He was like an enraged lion. What are you shouting for? You're too weak. Aren't there a few people in the 10 Directions Sword Sect who are stronger than you? Come at me together. I don't have that much time to play with you. If you want to fight, Hurry up and come at me together. Lu Ming glanced at the other disciples of the 10 Directions sword sect and said indifferently, What? What? The disciples of the 10 Directions sword sect were stunned. The surrounding spectators were also stunned. Lu Ming actually wanted to challenge all the experts of the 10 Directions sword sect. Was he crazy? In the sky, Lin Shui's eyes flashed as she stared at Lu Ming. This young man is quite strong, but he's underestimating the geniuses of the Decimo sword sect. A golden-robed elder shook his head. It's not that I'm looking down on the geniuses of the Shifang sword sect, it's just that this young man is confident in himself. Lin Shui said. You have the confidence. According to the sect leader's words, could it be that this little fellow had challenged the experts of the 10 Directions sword sect and won? How was this possible? Even when Qiu Changkong was a martial grandmaster, he wasn't this strong, right? The golden-robed elder said. We haven't fought yet. Who knows? Lin Shui smiled faintly. The other golden-robed elders were somewhat bewildered. Arrogant, too arrogant. He is courting death. Kill him. Many disciples of Decimo sword faction roared furiously. Tianyun, since you're so confident, don't blame us for winning by outnumbering you. Let's attack together. A handsome young man said coldly. He took a step forward and appeared beside Lu Ming, forming a triangle with Wu Kuei. Boom. Then, an extremely shocking aura erupted from the young man's body. Then, a bloodline in the shape of a saber appeared. There was no doubt that it was also a special bloodline. As soon as the bloodline appeared, a shocking saber light shot into the sky. Its aura was even stronger than Wu Kuei's. Whoosh, whoosh. Then, 4 figures flashed and appeared around Lu Ming, surrounding Lu Ming. A bloodline floated above each of the 4 of them. 2 of them had special bloodlines, and the other 2 didn't have special bloodlines. However, they were extremely powerful mutants. Each of their aura was terrifyingly powerful. Each of their aura was stronger than Wu Kuei's. The geniuses of the Mystic Essence Sword sect with special bloodlines turned pale. Their eyes were full of disappointment. The onlookers also widened their eyes in shock. Previously, when Wu Kuei said that there were 5 geniuses stronger than him in the Decimo sword sect, many people didn't believe him. They thought that Wu Kuei was trying to elevate the Decimo sword sect. But now, they knew that Wu Kuei was telling the truth. There were really 5 geniuses in the Decimo sword sect who were stronger than Wu Kuei. This was too shocking. Countless people were shocked by the strength of the Decimo sword sect. One of these geniuses is enough to defeat all geniuses of the same level, let alone 6 of them. Tianyun is doomed. He will die here today. It's a pity that such a genius will die here. In the future, he will not be weaker than the 6 heroes. The crowd sighed. Attack. At this moment, the 6 exceptional geniuses attacked at the same time. Boom. Boom. 6 different attacks flew towards Lu Ming from different directions. Each of the attacks was extremely terrifying. Each of them had the power of a martial ancestor realm LV1. The martial grandmaster realm and martial ancestor realm were 2 completely different realms. The gap between them was like heaven and earth. It was rare for a martial grandmaster realm cultivator to have the combat strength of a martial ancestor realm LV1. Now, the 6 geniuses from the Decimo sword sect had the strength of a martial ancestor realm LV1. One could imagine how terrifying they were. Wind, fire, Lu Ming said softly. He grasped the air with his right hand and a long spear appeared. The long spear was infused with the power of wind and fire. Boom. Then, Lu Ming bent his legs slightly and exerted force. The ground under his feet exploded, creating a large hole. The floor cracked like a spider web. Lu Ming's body shot up into the sky like a cannonball. The long spear pierced upwards, creating a terrifying whistling sound. Boom. Lu Ming's spear pierced a large hole in the joint attack of the 6 geniuses. Lu Ming shot up into the sky. Go up and surround him, one of the geniuses from the Decimo sword sect shouted. Then, the sound of the air being pierced could be heard. 6 figures shot up into the sky. Human Dao palm, Lu Ming said softly and threw a palm down. Whoosh. Spiritual chi surged wildly between heaven and earth and gathered toward Lu Ming. A large palm print appeared in the sky. The lines on the palm were clear as if they were real. The large palm print slammed down. Wherever the palm print passed, the air would explode. It was extremely terrifying. Not good. Let's fight together. The faces of the 6 geniuses from the Decimo Sword sect changed drastically. They screamed in horror. The 6 of them used all their strength. Suddenly, 6 terrifying attacks gathered together and blasted towards the large palm print. Suppress. There was a glint in Lu Ming's eyes and he shouted softly. Boom. The palm print collided with the attacks of the 6 geniuses. The force swept out and formed a terrifying shockwave that rushed in all directions. Not good. Below, the crowd's faces changed drastically and they fled in all directions. Bam! Bam! The force swept across the ground, creating a large crater. Bam! Then, there was a loud explosion. The joint attack of the 6 geniuses from the Decimo Sword sect was shattered by the palm print. The palm print did not stop and continued to press down. How could this be? Wu Kuei shouted. Chapter 260. Boom. With a deafening boom, the 6 geniuses of the Decimo Sword sect were directly smashed to the ground by the huge palm print. They crashed heavily into the ground, creating 6 large pits and filling the air with smoke and dust. In the distance, countless people stared blankly at this scene. Time seemed to have frozen at this moment. They even forgot to breathe. They could only stare blankly with their eyes wide open. It was as if they wanted to engrave this scene in their hearts forever. This was because it was too shocking. Any one of the 6 geniuses of the Decimo Sword sect could defeat almost all the martial grandmasters in the Blazing Sun Empire. But now, the 6 of them were defeated by Lu Ming in a single palm strike. Even a fool would be able to see the difference between them. The remaining 3 geniuses of the Mystic Essence Sword sect looked at Lu Ming in disbelief. It was as if they could not believe that there was such a genius in the world. Then, the disappointment in their eyes became stronger. Before coming to the imperial capital, they were arrogant and thought that they were the favored children of heaven and earth. They looked down on martial artists with ordinary bloodlines. They thought that no one in the world was stronger than them in a battle of the same level. But not long after coming to the imperial capital, they suffered a fatal blow. They were defeated by Wu Kuei alone. In front of Wu Kuei, they were no match at all. But such an opponent that they looked up to, together with 5 other geniuses who were stronger than Wu Kuei, was defeated by Lu Ming in a single move. This simply overturned their understanding of the world. The blow to them was too big. In the past, we dominated the Mystic Essence Sword sect and thought that we were invincible. It turns out that we have been ignorant all this time. The only woman among the 3 sighed softly. The other 2's eyes flickered and then turned into sighs. No matter how strong you are, there will always be someone stronger. Only today did they truly understand this principle. In the sky, Lin Shui and the other golden-robed elders were also stunned. Amazing, really amazing. There is such a genius in the Star General Hall. Looking at his age, he is only in his 20s. A golden-robed elder sighed, full of envy. In fact, Lu Ming's actual age was not even 18 years old. It was just that he was wearing a disguise, so he looked like he was in his 20s. The second level of the Earth Realm Palm Art. Great success in the force of fire and minor success in the force of wind. His Zhen Qi is incomparably dense. Genius, a true genius. Lin Shui's eyes sparkled. Even though he thought highly of Lu Ming before, he still couldn't help but sigh. Big brother Tianyun is mighty. Big brother Tianyun is invincible. Ming Peak came to his senses and shouted excitedly. When the dust settled, everyone saw 6 large pits on the ground. The 6 geniuses of the Decimo Sword faction were lying motionless in the pits, their bodies covered in blood. Even though he was still breathing and wasn't dead yet, there were many broken bones in his body. Without a month or 2 of recuperation, it would be impossible for him to make a full recovery. What genius! That's all you've got, Lu Ming said as he glanced at Wu Kuei and the rest. Wu Kuei and the others almost spat out another mouthful of blood. If it weren't for their severe injuries, they would have roared out loud. He was angry and regretful. During this period of time, they had defeated many geniuses of the Mystic Essence Sword Sect, Astral Hall, and Crimson Cloud Valley, pushing the reputation of the Decimo Sword faction to the peak. But now, the 6 of them were defeated by Lu Ming with a single palm strike. If this news spread, it would be a joke. It was definitely a huge blow to the reputation of the Decimo Sword faction. Their efforts during this period of time were equivalent to nothing under Lu Ming's palm strike. Haha, great. In the sky, a golden-robed elder laughed. Lu Ming glanced at Wu Kuei and the others indifferently and didn't make any more moves. He turned around and strode away. Myongcheng and the others quickly followed. Countless pairs of eyes followed Lu Ming and watched Lu Ming's back as he left. This was an arrogant, determined, and unyielding back view. In the sky, Lin Shui looked at Lu Ming's back and was shocked. In his eyes, Tianyun's back overlapped with the back of another young man. They were so similar. Lu Ming, Lin Shui whispered, his eyes shining. After a long time, it turned into a long sigh. This long sigh contained a trace of regret. Maybe, my choice was wrong, Lin Shui sighed in his heart. In Lu Ming's room in the Astral Hall, Lu Ming sat cross-legged on the bed. Now, my cultivation is very close to the 9th level of the Martial Master Realm. I have to break through as soon as possible. Then, I can refine the blood refining pill and improve the foundation of the second bloodline to prepare for the awakening of the second bloodline. Lu Ming thought to himself. Before the Emperor's birthday, Lu Ming had been in seclusion in the Earth Essence Cave for 3 months. In the first month, he had refined 100 monster cores and his cultivation had reached the peak of the 7th level of the Martial Master Realm. In the next 2 months, his cultivation had successfully broken through to the 8th level of the Martial Master Realm. In the last month, he had refined another 100 monster cores of the 9th level of the 3rd level of the Martial Master Realm and reached the peak of the 8th level of the Martial Master Realm. With his current cultivation, the 2nd level of the 3 Dao Palms, and the fire force that had broken through to the greater success, it was normal for him to defeat Wu Kuei and the others with 1 palm. He did not place the matter of defeating Wu Kuei and the others in his heart. In his opinion, it was an insignificant matter. His current goal was to break through to the 9th layer Martial Grandmaster as soon as possible, and then break through to the Martial Ancestor Realm. Immediately, Lu Ming began to cultivate. In the blink of an eye, 3 hours had passed. At this time, Lu Ming suddenly opened his eyes. This was because he felt a terrifying murderous intent shrouding him. At the same time, an extremely dangerous feeling arose, causing his heart to tremble slightly and his hair to stand on end. Oh no! There was no time to think. Without any hesitation, Lu Ming soared to the sky and dashed toward the ceiling. Kai! At this time, a terrifying sound broke through the air. 100-meter-long, extremely bright sword light slashed toward Lu Ming's dorm room. Boom! Lu Ming's dorm room, including the other rooms, suddenly exploded. Gravel and wood chips flew in all directions. The whole floor was split in half. Whoosh! Lu Ming rushed to the sky from the broken wood. Tianyun, die! With a cold bellow, Lu Ming saw 2 young men walking in the air toward him. Kai! One of the young men in a yellow robe slashed with his sword. Another terrifying sword light slashed toward Lu Ming. The speed of the sword light was unbelievably fast. In an instant, it had arrived in front of Lu Ming. Ancient shield! Lu Ming let out a low roar. 4 ancient shields condensed in front of him in succession. 4 shields were stacked in front of Lu Ming, blocking him. Boom! The sword light slashed on the shields, causing them to shake violently. Then, the first shield exploded, followed by the second, the third. In just a breath's time, all 4 shields had exploded. However, in just a breath's time, Lu Ming's bloodline erupted. A powerful devouring force covered his body. At the same time, he frantically retreated and took out the demon-suppressing spear to block in front of him. Clang! Chapter 261. Lu Ming's figure descended rapidly. When he was about to hit the ground, His body burst out with a burst of chi as he stomped heavily on the ground, causing his body to continue to drift backward. Trying to escape. Do you think you can escape today? The yellow-robed young man in the sky yelled coldly. He was extremely furious. Despite his cultivation of the peak second-layer martial ancestor realm, coupled with the fact that he had failed to kill Lu Ming with 2 consecutive attacks, he felt extremely humiliated. Die. The yellow-robed young man held his sword with both hands and lashed out. A terrifying sword ray that was a few hundred meters long tore through the air and instantly approached Lu Ming. Senior brother Huang, let me help you. Beside the yellow-robed young man was a white-robed young man. At that moment, he drew his sword out of its sheath and stabbed forward. A pitilessly sharp sword chi penetrated Lu Ming's body. At that instant, Lu Ming's eyelids twitched as if he was facing the Grim Reaper. Block, block. Lu Ming's eyes turned red as he circulated his chi to the maximum. 4 ancient shields appeared in front of him to block the attack. Human Dao Palm. Lu Ming lashed out with his palm and executed the human Dao Palm. A giant palm print appeared in front of him and blasted forward with the force of wind and fire. Boom. A deafening explosion occurred, causing the entire Star General Hall to tremble violently. Figures screamed as they rushed out of the dormitories and fled in all directions. The human Dao Palm and the ancient shields that Lu Ming had executed were shattered into pieces as the terrifying force landed on Lu Ming's body. Bang! Lu Ming was sent flying backward like a cannonball, crashing through 2 dormitory buildings and flying a few hundred meters away. Lu Ming supported himself with his spear, leaving a deep mark on the ground before he came to a stop. His body shuddered as he spat out a mouthful of blood. Still not dead. In the sky, the 2 young men were astounded. With their cultivation and combat strength, even a first-layer martial ancestor realm expert would be killed with a single slash. However, Lu Ming had managed to block the attack and was only injured, not dead. This was too shocking. Kill. The 2 young men's killing intent burst forth. Their eyes flashed with cold lightning as they charged towards Lu Ming. Stop. With a few loud roars, a few streams of light broke through the air and arrived at the top of the dormitory in an instant. They were the elders of the General Hall. Scram. The yellow-robed young man and the white-robed young man were incomparably domineering. They slashed out with their battle swords, and sword chi soared into the sky. Bang! Bang! The 3 elders of the Star General Hall were no match for him and were sent flying several hundred meters away. Stop! Your Decimo Sword faction has gone too far. You've openly killed a student of my Astral General Hall. Let's see how your Decimo Sword faction will explain this to the royal family. An elder roared as he looked anxiously at Lu Ming. Lu Ming was a peerless genius of the Star General Hall. He was the hope of the future. Nothing could happen to him. However, the 2 young men of the Decimo Sword faction were gold-level disciples of the Decimo Sword faction. Their cultivation had reached the peak of the second-layer martial ancestor realm and they were also peerless geniuses. Their combat strength was comparable to a 3rd-layer martial ancestor realm. Among the 3 of them, the most powerful one was in the 2nd-layer martial ancestor realm while the other 2 were only in the 1st-layer martial ancestor realm. They were no match for Lu Ming. Explain. Why should the Decimo Sword faction deal with the royal family? What a joke. Tianyun has been going against the Decimo Sword faction and has killed many geniuses of the Decimo Sword faction. He deserves to die. Scram now or all of you will die. The yellow-robed young man roared in an overbearing manner. The 3 elders of the General Hall had ugly looks on their faces but they stood firmly in front of Lu Ming. Fart. Lu Ming spat out another mouthful of blood. He supported himself with his spear and stood straight as he looked at the sky. They were indeed disciples of the Decimo Sword faction. It seemed that the Decimo Sword faction had been forced into a corner and had sent their gold-level disciples to attack the General Hall. Then, he looked in the direction of the dormitory. It was in ruins and screams of agony could be heard continuously. Lu Ming had managed to dodge the first attack but the others did not have the strength to do so. At least 10 people had died under that attack and many more were injured. Fortunately, Ming Peak had been staying at Myongcheng's place during this period of time. Otherwise, he would have been in danger. Damn it. Lu Ming gripped the spear shaft tightly and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. Senior brother Huang, why are you talking so much nonsense? Just kill them. The white-robed young man was even colder and his gaze was as sharp as a sword. He took a step forward and charged forward. Hold on, the elites will be here soon. One of the elders roared angrily and charged forward with all his might. The other two elders did the same, but they were no match for the white-robed young man. After more than 10 moves, they were injured and one of the elders in the first-layer martial ancestor realm even lost an arm. You overestimate yourselves. The yellow-robed young man sneered with disdain. How dare you? Suddenly, there was a loud roar and a snow-white saber light slashed from afar. It tore through the void and arrived in an instant. Oh no, fourth-layer martial ancestor realm. The two young men's expressions changed and they each slashed out with their swords. However, they were swept by the saber-light and were sent flying over 1,000 meters away. Whoosh! In the sky, several streams of light arrived in an instant. There were a total of 3 people, 2 elders, and 1 young man. Huakai. The young man was Huakai. He was enveloped by the genuine chi of the elder, which was why he could walk in the air. I'm here. Let's see who can kill Tianyun. Huakai's gaze was like lightning as he stared at the 2 young men from the Decimo Sword Sect. 8th Prince, Tianyun has been going against the Decimo Sword Sect and is trying to destroy the relationship between the Decimo Sword Sect and the Imperial family. He has ulterior motives and the Imperial family might be harmed by him, the yellow-robed young man said coldly. You don't have to worry about that. I'll investigate it. Now, get out of the Star General Hall. Huakai shouted in a domineering manner. You! Huakai, I'm giving face to the Imperial family by calling you the 8th Prince. Don't be so shameless. The yellow-robed young man said angrily. How dare Huakai tell him to get out? He was a gold-rank disciple of the Decimo Sword Sect. There were very few gold-rank disciples in the 5 major sects and each of them was a famous figure in the Blazing Sun Empire. Their status was not much lower than those gold-robed elders. Because they had unlimited potential, they would have no problem becoming gold-robed elders in the future. Now, Huakai dared to scold them. So what if he was the 8th prince? Their gazes were cold. If you don't get out, I'll make you get out. Let me tell you, the imperial capital is the imperial capital of the imperial family after all, Huakai shouted coldly. Beside him, the 2 elders burst out with powerful auras. One of them was at the 3rd layer martial ancestor realm while the other was at the 4th layer martial ancestor realm. The yellow-robed young man and the white-robed young man looked fearful. If they were at the 3rd layer martial ancestor realm, they could still fight. However, they were no match for the 4th layer martial ancestor realm even if they worked together. Good, good, good. 8th prince, let's wait and see. The yellow-robed young man said the word good 3 times in a row but his voice was extremely gloomy. He then looked at Lu Ming and said, Tianyun, if you're capable, don't leave the Star General Hall for the rest of your life. We'll wait for you outside the Star General Hall and see how long the Imperial family can protect you. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.